Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you can learn to make more money in less time and have more fun, especially the more fun part. Now we have Chris Hunter today from roofingsites.com. I guess he does roofing sites. That's a fair guess, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Chris, tell me about your background, a little backstory, how you got into doing roofing sites. And that's a pretty specialized market. So tell me a little about yourself.
All right. So we got to go back to like 1998, right? 1998, I was working on this jet back here, right? The F-117 in the Air Force, and was trying to figure out how to build websites, from scratch. Back then it was like HTML is with Notepad and
That was
using
pre-WordPress,
Photoshop.
right?
Oh, heck yeah. That was way before WordPress. Yeah. So I was building websites. I was doing all sorts of stuff and trying to really figure out the whole process, because I figured out that I do not want to work on the flight line. Right. I was working in New Mexico in the desert. It's 120 to 2000 degrees, whatever it was. It was ridiculous.
I mentioned on the tarmac, it's a little bit warmer, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. A lot. So much so that I learned not to leave a toolbox out in the sun, right? When I went to go grab it, I'm like, oh,
Hey, I
burn
got
my
it.
hand.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So you're motivated
So
to find something that's a little less hot.
yeah, for sure. I wanted air conditioning
Okay.
specifically, right? A
Right.
job that revolved around that. So, I was taking classes on base, and I was really trying to figure out where I was going. And I started doing some websites for some nonprofit organizations on base, right?
Mhm.
And word got around, I guess, about that, and I got called into the general's office one time.
I see.
I
It's like the
and I
principal's
was
office in the army, right?
right. I mean, I was a three-stripe airman. I'm like, there is no way, right? I mean, the staff sergeant came up to me, and was like, "Hey, General wants to see," and I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Right. Oops.
Yeah, and so I get pulled into his office, and he does the whole power move thing. He comes around.
Like in the movies, right? I'm a
Yeah,
general, you're nothing,
yeah,
right?
exactly. I'm standing at attention, sweating
Right.
bullets, because I'm like,
Right.
why am I here? And he's like, son, I've heard a lot of good things about you on base. I'm like, ooh, thank goodness.
Right. Yeah. That court martial. Yeah.
Yeah. And he says, I've seen some of the websites that you've done, and I don't have anyone worth anything. And that's the nice way of saying that. And I don't have anyone that can actually do any of this stuff. Uh, can, can you build the bases website? Like, yes, sir.
Whoa.
Absolutely, sir. Yes, sir. You know,
I see.
and so he's like, well, what do you think about coming off the flight line for about 3 months? Do you think it'll take about 3 months? I'm like, yes, sir. That's great. That's awesome. It's like in the
Okay.
middle of the summer at that
Right.
time,
Anytime, just get off the heat. Yeah, I get it.
and so yeah, so I got pulled off the flight line, built a website for them. It was great, or
Now,
at
what
least
base was this for? Can you tell the name of the base?
this is at Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico. It's right next to White Sands, New Mexico.
Those don't have any like UFOs in them, right? Do they? It's
Yeah,
like Area 51 or something, right?
yeah, yeah. Not quite, but
Okay.
we a lot of people acted pretty strange around there, but
I see. Okay.
it is what it is. But no, that's kind of when I drove off from that. That's I was like, this is what I want to do. So fast forward to when I got out of the Air Force, me and my wife were trying to decide where to go, and we decided to come back here. Where here is in College Station, Texas, right? We had both met at A&M, and so we were like, well, let's raise a family in College Station. So come back here, and I immediately started up a web design agency and never really looked back.
Mhm.
Back then we were designing websites for just about anybody here in College Station, Texas, and I was really trying to figure out how to, outrank my competition. That was the very first order of business, and this was about
Well,
2001
that's
at
when
that point.
everybody did websites, right? I mean, there's
Well, not
no.
everyone. It was a really hard sell back then,
I'm just
2001.
saying that everybody said that like everybody's in the website business. There's no barriers to entry, right? All you
Yeah,
had to have was a
yeah.
computer, and you were in the website business, right? In a browser,
You
and
had
you're
to be
good.
a geek though to kind of figure out how to do some
I
of this
see.
stuff back
Okay.
then, because it was all Notepad or Dreamweaver. I eventually found
Right.
Dreamweaver and was building websites that way. Um, but yeah, no, started up the web design firm at that time, and decided, I need to outrank my competition. So really started figuring out Google, right? And how to outrank them. And eventually within about 6 months or so, it seems like is about when I outranked them. And then
Mhm.
I was like, well, if I can do it with one website, why can't I do it with multiple websites? So I started building other websites and pushing my competition completely
Well,
off of the
that's
first
probably before
page.
SEO is even a common term, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No one knew about that, but I knew it, right? That eventually that was going to completely replace the yellow pages, right?
Right.
And so that's how we started all this whole game. And then 2005 is when my clients back then, approached me and were like, "Hey, can you do for us what you did for yourself?" So we took on one client, which was a roofer, right? And we're like, okay, sure, let's figure this out. And so we started, systemizing it and really, building that recipe for how to
That's like
rank
almost 10
websites.
years ago, right? That's a while ago,
Oh
right?
man, that was a long time ago. 2005. What is that? That's almost 20 years ago at this
20
point.
years ago. Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah. 18. I have an 18-year-old. That's 2005. So that's when he
Okay.
was
Okay.
born. Um, so yeah, so we did that. And then when Google Ads came around, we started adding Google Ads, to the
Mhm.
mix. And then when Facebook came around, we're like, okay, well, let's add Facebook to the mix. And then Facebook ads came around and we're like, okay, well, let's figure that out too. And so we've just simply added on time and time and time again into where I've built this system, if you will, right? I call it my 4R marketing system that I think is pretty evergreen. Okay. It's made up of 4 pillars, reputation being the base, because you can't, and we've tried it over and over and over and over again. You can't do anything in marketing unless your reputation is solid, right?
Now,
Nothing else is going to work.
how do you build a solid? I mean, people like Google, Google reviews and stuff. And how do you build a solid reputation? Is there any magic formula for that?
No, not at all. Right. It really comes down to Google reviews for our roofers, right? I work with a lot of roofers. And so therefore, it comes down to 2 things with them. It comes down to your website, right? That your website has to be a high conversion website. Number 2, you have to have good reviews. You have to have a good actual reputation, right? And sometimes this could be on Yelp, this could be on Facebook, it could be on Google, but the vast majority of what I see and what we work with is Google. Okay, so
Okay,
we want to
Chris,
make sure.
this comes up a lot. All right.
Yeah,
So some guys got 5 or 6, 10, 15 good reviews, and then everybody pisses somebody off eventually.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you cannot be in business and not make somebody angry eventually, whatever.
yeah,
So they decide they're going to trash you on Google or Yelp, or they trash you. And
yeah.
how do you repair that damage?
It's hard. It's really, really hard. And so the things that I have found that work is number one, call that person, repair it in person, right? Actually, person to person, there might be some miscommunication. They might have been pissed off about something. They might call that person. 9 times out of 10, they're gonna say, yeah, you're right. I'll take it down. Right. um, and you might have to offer them something, right? But your reputation, again, is the very basis of everything. And if you have tarnished
Have you
that,
ever heard of people paying people to take their bad reviews down? It sounds
yes
like
and
blackmail,
no.
but I don't know.
Yeah,
It doesn't sound
yeah,
good. It may actually happen once in a while.
yeah. I don't typically coach my clients on doing that, but I do tell them to call them. I do tell them, hey, we'll come out and fix whatever it is that we messed up. You know,
Okay.
whether that was we damaged some plants or we left some nails in the yard. We'll go out there and fix it, whatever it is. Most of the times it's just something really simple to do and something that they
Okay.
should have done as part of their customer service anyways, right? Part of their
Right.
process. Um, the other part is just responding.
Right.
Don't give it 24 hours, right, before you actually respond to a bad review. I would that way you're out of you're settled down, you're not, you know,
You're not
in the heat of the
reactive for
moment.
sure,
You're
right? You're
not
not like,
reacting. Yeah. And simply reply this way. I am so sorry we messed up. I will look into it. Give me a call. We'll make it better. Something along those lines is way better than anything that
You
you're
don't want
gonna.
to attack somebody because just defend themselves,
No,
then it just gets worse, right?
I
That
was
never.
looking at some today, that literally were like, they're trying to say their standpoint of what it was, and
They
you're just
start
like,
a Google review war.
you're not
That's
going to
never
win.
good. No,
No, yeah, you're
not
not going
good.
to win either way with that person or with the 1,000 other people that are going to go and read that
Right.
review. So,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So we're back to
Um,
the 4 pillars. So the first one's reputation.
Reputation. The next one is reach, right? Getting in front of more people today than knew about you yesterday. This is what most people think of marketing, right? When they talk marketing. And, these are all the tactics. These are all SEO, Google business profile, all the things that I was talking about earlier, Google ads, Facebook ads, content marketing, video marketing, all of these things are relevant, but they're all tactics, right? The strategy is the overall umbrella of everything and how you're going to make yourself the choice versus a choice in your market.
Okay.
Okay. So, um,
Now
but
in
yeah,
reach
it's,
question, a lot of people don't know what geofencing is. Can you explain that? Because a lot of people think I'm in Dallas, right? How am I going to
yeah,
get to all of Dallas? And all I want is this one little neighborhood with all these
right.
houses where the roofs are falling off that are
Oh,
expensive.
absolutely. Yeah. So, it's, I like to laser target, right? Think of it in military terms. You're the sniper, right? You want to be the sniper and not the shotgun, right?
Right.
You're going to be way more effective that way. In fact, I go so far as to tell my contractors to um, get an office next to their ideal customer's neighborhood, right? And set up your Google business profile and get it verified and get reviews on the Google business profile. And that way, because the Google Maps algorithm is very, very proximity based. Okay. And so you want to be right next to your ideal customers. Okay.
Can you rent
Um,
somebody's bedroom in a house to do that? I'm just curious how do you set up an office? I mean, do they accept like those PO boxes? I
no,
mean, you have to have
no,
a
stay away from
mini
PO
house.
boxes. Stay
Can you
away. Yeah,
actually
you can
rent
do a
somebody's room in a
house.
house?
You could, but I would veer away from that as much as possible.
Okay.
Google knows what's commercial and not commercial. That $650 office space, that's one singular office inside of a big office building probably will do the trick. And that
Okay.
$650 for my roofers, what I tell them is probably going to make you millions. So,
Right.
that's
So
an
just
easy
buy them.
choice.
Now, does this mean they have to have let's say they're in 4 markets in Dallas or wherever.
Mhm.
Do they need to have a little office in those different 4 markets versus a big office downtown?
So let me tell you a story to counteract that, right? A buddy of mine who, right, is in the Chicago area, right? And he and I were talking, and he owns a roofing company. He's also a marketer. And he and I were talking, and I recommended this. I said, hey, go get an office right next to your ideal customer's neighborhood, like the actual neighborhood. Where are the $5 million plus homes, right?
Right.
Go put an office, go find, go on Zillow and find an office space right there, right next to them. And he did that. And he went honestly from $20,000 jobs, $20,000 jobs to $100,000 to $150,000 jobs overnight. Right.
Wow.
And yeah, so
That pays for
it
an
was,
office for sure, right?
yeah, that $650 literally, I think, is what he was paying for that tiny office space as a 10 by 10 office inside of a bigger office building, made him millions. So,
So you could
um,
literally, if somebody had a big office, you could take like, I want the quarter of your office. I'll pay you $650. I'll
mhm,
put a desk in there, put a sign on the outside. I may never
yep,
be here, but I need the
yeah,
location. You can do that.
right. Absolutely. You just need to sign. You need to be able to, now they do video verifications, right? So you have to prove that you have to show the sign from the street, sorry, the street name, right?
Mhm.
You have to show the signage in front of the office. You have to show that you have physical access to that office, like unlock it. Then you have to show the actual office. It's not hard, and actually they recommend less than a 2-minute video.
And so it can be, let's say there's a realtor office or something, and they've got an
Mhm,
extra room in the realtor office. Say, fine, I'll
mhm.
give you this desk. I'll charge you $500 a month. You
Yeah,
can put your name outside. That's legitimate.
yeah, do it, right? As long as it's not like a Regis type office, as long as it's not a PO box, as long as it's not a residential space, then that is gold, right? I would
Cool.
highly recommend that.
So
Yeah.
you could actually, if you had 4 markets where all the rich people are, whatever, you could have find a realtor office or somebody's office and go rent spaces in those 4 offices, pay them $500 a month for a desk, put a sign on the front door, have a key, and you're in. That's legal.
That's legal, right? With Google, anyways, for right now,
Right.
right? That might change 6 months from now,
Right,
but
right, right now. Okay,
that's
cool.
okay right now. Yeah,
Okay.
and it's working. So,
Cool.
yeah, so that's the reach pillar. The reach
And
is
then one of the questions
what
that
everyone thinks of.
reach, you can just say, I want these 7, 10, 12 blocks, these 12. Your reach, can it get narrower than just a zip code?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So with Facebook ads, with Google ads, you can narrow it down dramatically. With Facebook ads, for sure, you can narrow it down to a 1 mile radius now. You used to be able to get a little bit closer than that, but Facebook has changed over time with their privacy issues that they've had over the years. So it's now a 1 mile radius is their shortest that they will get on targeted
Okay,
ads.
that's still pretty close.
That's still pretty close, right? Exactly. And if you're here in College Station, like we had, a company that wanted to target college students. Well, that's pretty easy. We drew back then. It was drawing. You could actually draw it inside of Facebook where you wanted to target. So we drew the A&M campus, the Texas A&M campus. Therefore, that was easy to target those college students. Yeah,
that works great. Okay, so that covers reach, and you can geofence it. So you just go to the people that you want and not waste money on people that you don't want. Okay,
right.
what's the third?
So the third one is resell, right? Because you're 15 times more likely to sell to someone who's purchased from you before. Okay. So it makes sense to keep dipping back into that well of customers. Okay. So these are things I like cross-sell campaigns, right? So we've got a roofer in the Miami area that just added solar to his mix. He's got a database full of 10,000 customers that he's worked with in the past, 10 years.
Right.
So it's an easy cross-sell campaign for that, right? Where we're dripping in 100 per week, 100 emails and text messages per week, just simply to those former customers, right? Those customers that have purchased from him before, and saying, hey, we are offering solar. If you want to keep your warranty on your roof and you want solar, I would highly recommend you go with us because it's not going to
Because then one of the fears, you put
warranty.
solar on your roof and it destroys your warranty if someone or somebody else does it, right?
If someone else does it, right? Exactly. And you want to keep that warranty of 20 or 30 years or whatever that it is, right?
Okay. And
so
that's referral, right? The last one, second one.
So that's the third one. So that's resell, right? So we're dipping back in. So the other activity that we like to do with everybody, and I recommend that every single small business in the entire world do this, is have a monthly newsletter, right? That you are constantly building your database, right? First of all, with the leads coming in, and those unconverting leads still stay in your database, but are you reaching back out to them with valuable information? Okay. So that's an easy one with a monthly newsletter, and just staying top of mind with your former customers so that when it's time for them to make a decision again, like a storm came through, right? With roofers or with anyone, we want to make sure that we are actually top of mind, right? So the way
that,
we do
almost
that
qualifies as branding versus pay-per-click kind of stuff, right? That's like branding.
Oh, absolutely. Those two activities are free activities, except paying for the person to do that work, right?
Now I know if you with ChatGPT, my new best friend, right? Newsletters are way easier than they've ever been.
Yep.
It was interesting.
Absolutely.
One of my clients said, I would like you to write, a 2,000-word article. What happened is my marketing person dumped a podcast, or what I think it was a video I did, into ChatGPT, and it wrote the whole article, and I was done. Right.
Yeah. I mean, AI, if you're a small business owner and you're not incorporating AI at this point into your everyday operations, much less your marketing, right? Then you really need to start looking into that, really, because
I'm gonna diverge for 2 seconds into well, first place, how do you separate building a brand, which is a newsletter, versus pay-per-click or something that has direct results? And how do you know what to budget to both of those? What's a good allocation?
So a good allocation is basically, a lot of times it's really your time, for the branding type stuff. Okay. So for instance, doing a video, doing a podcast, doing, you know, activities that help you
Mhm.
brand yourself and brand your business, right? That's really going to be the owner's time for the most part, right?
Right.
Or somebody in time inside of that organization. Pay per click, that's a whole different beast right there, Um, and it really comes down to what you're willing to spend to get your customer in. Okay. So most of my roofers, we range anywhere in between $50 to $250 cost per acquisition. Okay.
Now, is that acquiring a lead or acquiring a customer?
That's acquiring a lead, right? And so therefore you have to typically a 25% close rate off of that. So it could be upwards of $1,000 to get a new roof, right?
Right.
Um, Getting that
Yeah.
cost per acquisition down is the key, really.
Now, should they build that $1,000 cost into the cost of the roof? I mean, the customer's not going to know it, obviously, but when
Yeah.
they say, okay, I'm going to do a roof and it's, 20,000 or 50,000, there's money in that for acquiring the lead. You actually put it
Mhm.
in lead acquisition,
Absolutely.
the cost.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you know your cost per acquisition, build that into your margins, right?
Okay.
And charge accordingly.
Okay, that makes
So
sense. Now I'm going
yeah.
to divert for a second just because I love AI. So,
Yeah.
you know, I it seems to me that AI has like there's it's going to destroy the planet or save the planet. I look at it sort of
Yeah.
like the abortion thing. Nobody seems to be in the middle. Either, you're
Yeah.
going to go to hell or not. Right.
Right.
So I would like your opinion. I mean, I put like there's fire and there's electricity, now there's AI. It's going
Yeah.
to change a lot of stuff. So
Yeah.
how do you feel about it? How do you think it's going to change business in the future? And how can people adapt, or should they?
As it stands right now, I view it as more of an assistant, right? The chat GPTs, the Jaspers,
Mhm.
there's tons and tons of tools out there right now. It's a tool, right? And
Right.
if I equate it to like an air hammer for roofers, going back to the roofers thing, is
Right.
it's an air hammer versus an actual hammer itself. You're going to
Right.
be able to do a lot more things with that air hammer and get jobs done a lot quicker than with an actual, physical single
Right.
hammer, right? So um I think that AI is interesting in the route that it is, in how fast that things are changing is amazing, honestly.
I mean,
It
when I think
reminds me
it's
a
I was only
lot.
introduced in January of this year,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
It's,
that's
I
Chat
mean, the,
GPT,
the well, the
right?
where it became sort
Yeah.
of went public, right?
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's been in your phones, it's been in
Mhm.
everything for ages, but when it actually came out of the closet, for lack of a better term, right? It
Yeah.
was in January, where they got 100 million subscribers, like in a month or two, or something
Yeah.
insane like that. And then
Well, because
the
they
AI
made it
war
free.
started, where they got
Yeah.
people dumping billions and billions of dollars into it.
Yeah.
So it's this exponential curve thing, and it's
Yeah.
you have any idea where it's going in the next 3 to 5 years? Just your
I
opinion?
don't. I think it's gonna replace a lot of jobs, right? A lot of writers' jobs are being replaced. I have an agency owner friend that built his own AI, right? He's a programmer also,
Mhm.
and he built his own AI to replace the vast majority of his writers, right?
Mhm.
So it's going to replace a lot of things. I think in the future, it's going to replace even upwards of salespeople, in my opinion,
Well,
right?
interesting. You're in roofing, right? I talked to
Mhm.
a guy in HVAC,
Yeah.
and this is real time story that he now has AI works with voice now, right? It's
Yep.
not just
Mhm.
so he has AI calling all the clients,
Mhm.
his past clients,
Yep.
scheduling appointments for inspections. It's
Mhm.
all with AI, and people don't even know the difference. And you don't have to tell it's
No.
not a person yet. That's still,
Yeah.
the Wild West, right?
Yep.
So you can literally have AI call all your clients,
Mhm.
discuss with them, schedule an appointment, and no humans involved.
Right. Exactly. And then it just comes down to the cost per call that you have to
Right,
pay that platform, right?
right.
Which is way cheaper than an actual person
Yep.
doing all that work. Yeah, we're experimenting with the same thing. We're using a platform called Air AI
Mhm.
to do exactly that. The problem is that it's not. It's like this close. there's a few second gap in between someone saying something and the AI responding back. I figure that in about 6 months is probably they're gonna get that fixed,
Right.
Um, but yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. We're using it to take inbound calls too, right? To
Mhm.
schedule those appointments, because that's the number one issue in the roofing industry and most contractors, is that they just don't have enough time to pick up the phone. So that's
And
how
they
we're
can take,
solving it.
if you do an ad or something and you have 20 people call at the same time, it's not a problem because
Right.
AI can pick up
No,
all 20 calls at the same time.
100%. Yep.
One person who's just putting people on hold, on hold, on hold, right?
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And if you have an AI platform doing that, you can, I mean, it's infinite, you know?
It's
Uh,
amazing.
yeah.
Okay, so do you have any, you've been in this a long time, you
Mhm.
started on the tarmac and now you're like a computer guy.
Yeah.
If you met a guy in an airport, all right, and let's say
Uh-huh.
he's not a roofer, he's just a contractor, right?
Mhm.
And he's saying, well, I have a hard time getting leads, I can't find good customers, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, if you were going to give him like, this is the 10, 5-minute airport advice, you're going to see that
Yeah.
guy again.
Yeah.
What would you tell him about digital markets, websites, all that kind of stuff? What advice would you give this contractor guy, let's say he's a remodeling guy,
Mhm.
on how to make his business better?
Well, number one, I would tell him to pick up the phone, when people do call. Number two, I would set up local service ads, right?
Mhm.
Local service ads are the very top ads that you see now. These are the Google guarantee ads, right? We're seeing a lot of phone calls coming in through those right
Mhm.
now. So, and Google themselves has been putting a lot more effort into that platform because it's making them more money. It's a cost per lead, right? Just
Right,
like Home Advisor or
right,
Angie's, right? And it's going to make them more money in the long run, I think, than pay per click will, right?
right.
And so they're putting more and more energy into that as the very top spot in the search engine result pages right now for most contractors.
Mhm.
So I would say, if you need leads right now, get those, take the next week and get those things set up. Max out your budget. All right. And when I say max out your budget, make it like $1,000 a week or something like that. It's not going to use that. You're probably going to spend $200 a week, but
Probably
max it
pay per
out.
call, right?
Yeah, it's pay per call. So when some people call you, right? One, again, pick up the phone,
Pick up the
right?
phone,
Because you're
biggie, right?
right.
That's a biggie,
Yeah, that's the biggie.
right?
And if people reach out to you via message, make sure that you're responding back. Use the back end of the local service ads back end, because we're also finding that algorithm is being pushed mainly by people doing that, by picking up the phone and by working the back end of the LSA's area there. So
What's
do
LSA
those
stand
things.
for?
What's that?
LSA stands for what, for people that don't
Oh,
know?
sorry. Yeah, sorry. Geek speak. Local service ads, right? Google guaranteed ads. So, but they're called local service ads inside of the Google Ads platform.
Cool.
Um, but work that, and really you don't have to do anything else. Get that going, and then start buying back your time, right? From marketing and hiring someone like us to do all the other junk.
Okay, cool. Well, if somebody
Yeah.
wants to get hold of you, how do they reach you? And I guess you just work with roofers, unfortunately, so you got to be roofer to
Yeah.
qualify, right? So,
Yeah.
Chris, how do people reach you?
Oh, easy. Just email me at chris@roofingsites.com, or go to roofingsites.com. There's a little button in the upper right hand corner that says schedule a call, right? Make it easy, and use the online scheduler to schedule a phone call with
Are
me.
they going to
And
get AI or real person?
they're going to get a real person for
Well, at
now.
least
It
for
might be
now,
AI in the
right?
future. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, Chris. Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate you being here. And if you're in riffing, call Chris. He seems like the guy. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.